Hey, football fans, welcome back to another episode of Lions Latest, the show where we gather around and talk about the greatest team in the NFL, the Detroit Lions. I'm your host, Bryan Hanes, and we have some updates and some rumors to talk about. So let's just jump straight into the video. Starting off, we are talking about what are the next steps after the loss to the Packers on Sunday. So, this loss, honestly, the way I see it, was a sneak peek for what is wrong with our team currently. Losing the season opener like that also is going to bring some super bad morale going on. I'm really worried about that. I'm worried that, we've been talked about how we're not going to be as good. We're going to have hiccups, and then we practice very, very well. So it's like building all this confidence, like we got to go prove them wrong, and then that happens, and we get pretty much blown out. And what does that do to morale? So like I said in one of the previous videos, this was an important game to win, not just for the record, but for the team. Jared Goff said, yeah, not even close to good enough, right? Not even remotely close in that category. Yeah, it's frustrating. I thought we moved the ball decently. It was just once we got in the red zone, we couldn't punch it in. I think I know the play you're talking about. I hit Sam Laporta across the middle. You would like to come away from that game with 4 or 5 of those, and yeah, not even close enough, or not even close to good enough. He also said, it is it as a little bit of us, or it is a little bit of us. It is a little bit of them. I don't know. Obviously, one of them, I threw a pick, and that doesn't help. I don't know. That is something I'm going to have to look at. I really don't have a good answer for you. The defense played well, or their defense played well. They have they have a good defense that we certainly didn't play even close to where they need to play. Oh my gosh, sorry guys. But yeah, basically understood that the offense did not perform at the level they should have been performing at. We talked about that a little bit in the last video, but just knowing that the team can be better, it was just a mix of bad calls by the play callers and some just mistakes that were happening on the players. The O line, of course, was one of those big factors. We couldn't get the run going, and we couldn't protect Goff that well because he did take 4 sacks. So Goff was right. We just weren't where we needed to be. Goff mentioned that there were some bumps in the road working with a new offensive coordinator, but that they can be as good as they should be this season. So he understands that probably some of it had to do with Morton getting comfortable in that seat for a regular season game. But Goff knows that they still have the talent and they still have the personnel to be as good. They just need to get more comfortable with their OC. And I think that's fair. I think that's fine. I will be honest and say that at the beginning of the preseason, I was confident we were going to be just as good, but I was drinking the Kool-Aid, obviously. I'm seeing that there's the hiccups now. And not to say I didn't think there'd be hiccups, but I didn't think we'd get blown out like that game one. Defensively, though, the Detroit Lions are certainly not panicking after one bad performance. The question marks regarding both new coordinators are starting to grow. Defensive coordinator Kelvin Shepard is being criticized for having his 2 defensive backs drop back into coverage. Speaking to reporters after the game, linebacker Alex Anzalone was also certainly a little surprised that there were already questions about the new coordinators and what it's going to be like. From the outside about the coordinators, Anzalone looked in surprise at the question and responded after week one, which is totally fair. I mean, it's the first week with 2 new coordinators. To say, like, are they going to ruin the team? Are they going to ruin your chances? That's a little early, and I don't think it's really that fair. I think Anzalone answered it pretty well, but yeah, I think give him a little bit of time, guys. I think we're going to see a different team by the end of this season, and hopefully we do still make the playoffs, wild card, whatever. But I don't think this is necessarily anything to panic about as of now. I think we just need to get a little more comfortable in these new shoes. But that's what I think about that. Let me know what you guys think about that first game and where we're going to have to go forward in order to beat the Bears next week. But that's what I think about that so far. And we're going to move to our second topic, talking about fantasy football results after week one. So I was really high on a few of these guys, and I'm very excited to say I know they can be good. There was just some performances. So Jameer Gibbs and St. Brown were pretty disappointing, to be honest. Fantasy managers saw them only score 15 for Jameer Gibbs and 8.5 for St. Brown. So They did lose to the Packers, of course, right? We couldn't really get the offense going. And despite the fact that the running game was abysmal for this game, Jahmyr Gibbs was still able to put up 15 points because he was being super involved with the passing game. They dumped that ball off to him a lot. And that just, man, if you're in a PPR league, that's just going to rack up. And I will say I was disappointed because I was expecting at least a 20 plus point game. But 15's not bad when we played the way we played. Honestly, I'd take it. 8.5 for St. Brown, though, did make me a little annoyed. I think the big problem with that game was we just didn't get the ball to our playmakers enough on the offense because we didn't have enough time. It wasn't available. I don't know what the real big problem was, but it definitely gave St. Brown less chances. But the entire offense has struggled, only producing 246 yards and averaging just 3.8 yards per play, leading to that low fantasy output. The offense lacked its previous firepower and even got a late touchdown by Isaac Tesla, if you started Isaac Tesla, but it could not make up for the general lack of production they were having earlier in the game. Laporta was able to rack up 13.9 thanks to a bunch of just over the middle catches from Goff. Lions defense was also just pretty mid, only about 2 points, which I guess it's not negative, but 2 points is not good either, especially when I'm expecting Hutch to be going in and getting all those sack points for me. But whatever. Goff was just He had about 10.9 points, so definitely not as good as he can be, but I also think at the same time he could have been a lot worse based on how we lost. And 10.9 if you started him, be upset, but don't be devastated. It could have been way worse. And finally, JMO, the guy who I've had some big hopes for this year in terms of fantasy, got 6.6 points. So, not a crazy day. We couldn't get enough play action plays going to get the ball downfield to JMO. I just don't think it was very good offensively at all. We were able to get some third down conversions here and there and get into the red zone, but for the most part, we just couldn't score. And that kills your fantasy points when you just can't score. Jake Bates was all right, but you don't want a kicker to be deciding your weeks. So I definitely think, don't panic. I definitely think Gibbs can still be better than Saquon. I'm serious about that. If we can get the running game going and he gets those passes like that, just imagine what the points would look like. And I also think St. Brown still has a good chance to be better than Jefferson. However, Jefferson plays tonight, so I guess we'll just have to wait and see what happens. I might be dead wrong, but I don't think it's very fair to base anything off of just the first week of fantasy. There's plenty of season left to go, and I'm sure we will see these players improve and be back to how they looked last year. But that's just my take on that. What did you guys think? Are you giving up on any of these Lions players, making any trades? I'm personally going to hold on to my guys and just see where the season takes me, because it's never too bad to just wait. We are going to take it into the third topic today, which is a possible trade. So hold on to your hats. We got a trade rumor after that first week of not seeing great pass rush. So now that Zadarius Smith is off the table, and we have clearly shown that the pass rush isn't where it needs to be right now, it might be time to start looking for that extra piece, right? Dolphins edge Jalen Phillips is the former 18th overall pick. He's a tremendous player when he stays healthy, but that's just the problem. He's never healthy. In the last 2 years, he hasn't been able to do that. He tore his Achilles tendon in 2023, and then he had a season-ending injury in 2024. So he hasn't really been available. The Dolphins still gave him his fifth-year option, however, and they likely had hopes that he could get through all of this, but they have moved on, bringing in Chop Robinson, Bradley Chubb, Matt Judon. So they got their bases covered like that. And I was hoping we got Matt Judon, but now that he's off the table, let's start looking for this guy. He's got a lot of upside. There's just a lot of questions of, is he going to be healthy? But they're probably hitting the reset button on this guy, moving on from him. So this could be that cap clearing move that we need to go look for. Jalen Phillips plays as a high disruptor. He's got a high motor in the pass rush, known for his speed, power, ability to win both on the edge and on the inside with the way he can torque and bend his body. And he gets under tackles, demonstrates excellent lower body flexibility to turn the corner, can generate pressures from the interior with his strengths, and is also effective against the run, which fits our defensive line very well because of some of those guys we got like Tyleik Williams and DJ Reader, just run stoppers altogether. Having another guy like that would make us super good, and the ability that we can pair him with a fast pass rush, him and Hutch together, if they get mixed in with reps, could just be fantastic. And of course, we wouldn't have to worry about waiting for Marcus Davenport to fall fall apart. So he's shown promise for a big season in 2025, despite the history of season-ending injuries. They just got to keep him healthy, and I think if he can stay healthy, he could be a steal in a trade. We could probably get Jalen Phillips for a 2026 sixth-round pick. We could even try to get it out for a seventh-round pick because he hasn't shown any production the last 2 years. But that's what Brad Holmes usually likes to go for, these quote-unquote bargain bin guys. I could see it being a good steal for us. In his college career, he played 2 seasons at UCLA and a season at Miami. In that time, he had 86 total tackles, 49 were solo, 37 were assisted. He had 12 and a half sacks, an interception, and it's pretty good. It's pretty good. He had some definite production in college. That's why he got so high up on the draft stock, but just hasn't shown enough in the NFL, if any, really. He just hasn't been productive in the NFL because of those injuries. I say we go take a shot at this guy. We can do a low risk deal too. It would just be something to have in the rotation, keep him healthy, make sure he stays okay. Don't work him too hard, right? And then we can always just have that guy who we know we can kind of lean on to go in for a few plays and make some stuff happen if we need him to. But that's just what I think. I thought this was honestly not a bad trade at all. Obviously you're worried about the injury, especially with the injuries history we had last year. But I think this is definitely a risk worth taking, especially with how we saw the pass rush just was non-existent on Sunday. But that's not to say that Hutch isn't going to wake up at some time this season and make it happen. I'm just saying this wouldn't be too bad of a risk to take because it's not that high of a risk. So let me know what you guys think about that one. We are going to move on to our fourth topic of the day, just taking a look at the injury list. Again, though, I do think that trade is not too bad. So who's out right now? Sion Vaki, out. Trevor Nowaski, out. And then looking from the injuries from the game on Sunday, had a few close calls. Terrion Arnold with a groin injury was ruled out for the remainder of this game on Sunday, and he did not go back in. That worries the heck out of me. We need him to stay okay because right now he is one of our starting corners, and I like who's behind him, but also he was a first-round pick, and I don't need him sitting on the bench when we need defensive depth. That scares me. So hopefully he gets better. We need to make sure that he doesn't, overdo it or anything, because especially with the groin injury, oh my God, dude, the position that the corners have to stand in, you're basically just hurting that the whole time. I hope he's okay. And second, Daniel Thomas was questionable to return to Sunday's game after he had a hand injury. That's, again, just safety depth, just stuff we really can't be dealing with right now. Because I've said it, I'll say it again. If Joseph or Branch goes down, I'm not really looking forward to who has to back them up, But I'm just saying, it is what it is. We dealt with some injuries. I think we're going to come back next week for the Bears and be a whole different team. I guarantee you this is just going to fire us up. It's just going to be the wood, the kindling underneath the log fire. I think this is what's going to get us fired up for the rest of the season. I still see us having some losses, but it's definitely not out of the question to still get to the playoffs, guys. With that being said, we are out of time today. Thank you so much for watching this episode of Lions Latest. If you made it to this point in the video, tell me your opinions on the trade rumor. Is it just a huge no, or do we take a chance on a guy after Zadarius Smith goes off the table? And let me know how you guys did in fantasy. I am curious to know how the Lions players affected your guys' teams. But with that being said, make sure you guys like, comment, subscribe, hit the bell so you never miss a video here. Enjoy the rest of your day, and I will see you in the next video.